Candace Owens and Dave Smith talk about all the conservatives that have put Candace on their hit list. They get into all of the drama. It's a good one. You're watching Bring the Asteroid. Make sure you like today's video, subscribe to the channel, and we'll get right into it.
All right, I'm going to just jump right into this because I'm so excited to have you back. I guess not really back. This is the first time it's just Candace, the Candace
That's
show.
true. Yeah, the last time I did your show, it had a feeling like the next time I do this show, it's going to be in a different place.
You know, PBD accurately predicted that as well, but he told me that that was his favorite thing to watch was the conversation between me and you. And
Oh, yeah?
because we both are just like, you're a massive talent, and it's obvious
Oh,
that
well, thank you.
you're on your rocket ship, as they say, where people are realizing like, wait, who is this guy? He's just supposed to be a comedian, but he actually knows so much about politics.
I promise it's more of a comment on the rest of society than it is on me. I should be just a comedian. But
That's how I feel about me too, where I'm like, I think all I said was like, black people don't have to be Democrats, and then things exploded, and I don't really know why, because it wasn't that genius.
That's what's so funny is because these people, Candace and Dave Smith, both have really just said basic things. And I have been a fan of Dave Smith's for years now. And I really have been liking Candace as of recently. And it's just funny how just basic things that everyone should agree with makes these people blow up, because being reasonable and rational is very uncommon these days.
Yes.
Well, there's something about it, like, too, that your first, I think, take that really launched into this chapter of your career was just like, I sure do feel bad about all these dead Palestinian babies. And, you know, and then everybody's like, what do you hate Jewish people? And you're like, okay, that's it's Tucker Carlson. By the way, I should say Patrick Bet-David is great. I love that guy, and his whole operation is incredible. But you ever hear the thing Tucker Carlson said? I really liked it, where he said, you know, if a wound is infected because you touch it and you recoil. And there's like something about that in life in general where you like find these infections. It's almost like when you just say something really simple and then everyone's like, oh, it's like, wait, if that's controversial, there's something sinister going on here. And that's almost like, you're like, wait, if you're telling me I feel bad about seeing a dead baby and that's offensive, then I need to read a lot more about what's going on here, because something evil is happening.
That's me. I'm just so curious when I see, and I think another colloquial way to say it is they say it's a hit dog that hollers.
Right.
Perfect example of that was when I tweeted genocide is always wrong, and Dave Rubin just spazzed, and I just was like, what is happening right now? Why are you freaking out? Completely had it wrong. I wasn't even talking about Israel in that tweet. I was talking about Brian Mass and something that he said in Congress. But the way people responded, the fact that it got like 40,000 retweets, and I'm going, this used to be a totally acceptable thing to say that everyone agreed on, that we shouldn't be aspiring to genocide. And suddenly it's like this hot topic, and people were covering me all the time. And from that moment on, I was just on the hit list. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. The hit list, where you've said a thing, we don't accept the thing. So now we're just going to, I guess, try to psychologically wear you down by writing hit pieces of things that you didn't say to try to convince general public that you're the crazy one and we're not just psychopaths that believe in genocide.
Yeah. Yeah, being against genocide shouldn't be too controversial.
But it is. It is.
Yeah, how does being against genocide make you get on people's hit lists? I mean, that's the crazy times we're living in. These people are war and bloodthirsty.
Today, and you are I think, obviously, you are right at the heart of it, because you're like me during BLM. I was black, saying common sense, like, hey, I know like that there's white people here, but they were never slave owners, and we can't just take all their money and take their jobs and tell them to literally, at one point, they were getting on their hands and knees and cleaning black people's shoes at the height of BLM. People should go back. And I was against that. And I said, this is kind of crazy. You're now the Jewish person who's saying common sense, like, hey, this is kind of crazy. Like, America shouldn't be pledging allegiance to everything that Israel wants to do. And I think that's what's landed you in some hot water.
Well, I think, and there's a lot of parallels there, you know, not everything, there's differences in the situation, but I think one of the parallels is also that it's like, as you were saying with the Black Lives Matter stuff, that also like, hey, this isn't good for us. Like, it's not even just like, first and foremost, it's not right. But even additionally to that, like, this isn't helping black people any. Some white dude doing some performance ritual of like cleaning your shoes or whatever, this doesn't actually do anything for black people. This isn't elevating us to like the next level. This isn't like getting the black people who are struggling in America out of poverty or something like that. None of this helps. And in fact, all you're doing really is kind of getting like privileged black people who were already going to be fine a nicer house.
Right.
This is nothing. And I kind of do feel the same way. Like, first and foremost, I think what Israel's doing to the Palestinians is wrong. Even actually, first and foremost, I think it's my country should not be involved in it because it's hurting my country. But on top of that, after that, I guess, I also don't think this is good for Jewish people. I don't think this is good for Israel, and then more broadly for Jewish people. I think this is creating a whole lot of resentment against them. It's actually like this kind of sick, self-fulfilling prophecy where you are creating the conditions where actually something really bad could happen. And
Yes, exactly. I mean, people are so sick of the whining of a certain class of people or any classes of people. I know I, for one, get sick of when women cry about feminism and black people cry about racism. It's like, not affecting you. Stop crying about it. You seem like a victim. Like, no one likes a victim unless you're like victim worshippers, which, of course, the left and a lot of conservatives that are super pro Israel are.
I don't want to see that.
And
So
that's what I
yeah.
was saying to black people. I was just like, if you think that because the people are pretending to like you because they're fearful of losing their jobs, that means they really like you. Like, that's not what you want. You want people to just like
Yeah.
you, right? Because you're going, this is a good person, and I think that I want to work with this person because they're hardworking, because they're intelligent. When they know that,
Yeah, exactly. Like, I don't want people to only be friends with me, associate with me, whatever, because I'm, an orange woman. I want people to hire me, or if I work, like, let's say I was a career oriented woman, which I'm not. I'm a family focused mother and wife, but let's say I was. In my prior days before getting married and being saved, I definitely was very career oriented. I never wanted to get any handouts because I'm a woman. If anything, women should have to prove themselves more because they are emotional and crazy.
basically they got thugged into this.
Yeah.
What do you think is going on behind closed doors? What do you think they're actually saying about you behind closed doors? I don't want people to look at me and think that everywhere that I am, it's simply because BLM went crazy following George Floyd and they're just terrified to lose their jobs. And so they're just sort of subjecting themselves to this harassment, because at a certain point, BLM just became a full throttle harassment of white people
Yeah.
in every single regard. And it is interesting because I recognized that the people that were responding initially to the George Floyd thing were doing so out of what I describe as a childhood trigger. I think a lot of the things that we've been conditioned and a lot of our responses are due to childhood traumas that are happening in the classroom. So like they've got us public school system, Jimmy Carter kind of signed in the Department of Education into law. I think it was in 1970. And at that very moment, they were like, okay, now we can propagandize these kids and they'll have triggers. They don't even realize they're triggers when they become adults. And so for Black people, we are learning without us even realizing it that slavery, racism is like the worst evil that could possibly exist. Think about, you go through this emotional conditioning. This could happen any day. So it becomes very easy when people who want to achieve power to just go, hey, Black America, like Trump's about to get elected. You're going to be back in chains. And Black Americans believe that. Like it's
Yeah.
such a ridiculous thing, ridiculous notion that in 2020, had Trump have been elected, or 2016, had he been elected, we would go back in chains. But the majority of Black Americans legitimately believe this because the media was insisting on it. And then we had this childhood trauma. Jewish Americans, it's the Holocaust, right? It's like we spend a lot of time studying the Holocaust, and it's actually a trigger for all Americans, myself included. And I saw this happening where instantly, whatever happened in Israel, the first thing that was being correlated was the Holocaust.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, when I was when I debated Dennis Prager for that Zero Hedge debate, there was one point where he was, and I don't know if you could capture this on video, but I was only like a few feet away from him. But there was one point where he was talking about Jew hatred and how it's a different virus than everything else, and and he was like, his eyes were getting watery, like he was like getting emotional, like he believed it. You know what I mean? And there was almost like a moment I almost wanted to like put my arm around him and be like, hey man, like none of this is real, dude. So like, it's okay.
It's like, it's okay, Dennis Prager. It's okay. You're gonna make it.
Hey, you don't have to be scared. Like, there's not about to be another Holocaust.
No.
That's just not. And there is like this deep-rooted trauma that like gets passed on through generations, where it's like this real belief that this could happen at any moment. And I just don't. I was somebody on Twitter told me recently the other day that they said they go 20% of Americans want to see Jewish people exterminated, and they go, they'll never say that. But about 20%, which for
What? 20%? Where are you finding these people? Who are you polling? Like, that's ridiculous.
first off kind of begs the question of like, well, how did you scientifically arrive at this number of 20? Like, if they won't say that, how do you just know? But also just that's totally not true. Like, even amongst like people who do hate Jews, like even like think of like whatever it is, whoever the person on Twitter who you're like, that guy really does hate Jews. even amongst his following, it's not 20% who
No.
actually want to see Jews exterminated. It's just
Yeah, I mean, it's just a media lie. They're trying to fearmonger, and they use this fear to control the population into thinking that certain groups of people need all these handouts and they need to be a specialized class, and it's stupid. We're all human beings. People generally don't want people to be exterminated. And by the way, how come it only matters when we're certain protected classes? Because these same people that are like, oh my gosh, so terrible, we can't have another Holocaust, which obviously we can't. Obviously, I'm not advocating for that, but these are the same people that are so war hungry and bloodthirsty and are like, let's completely eliminate the Palestinian people. And by the way, I have family members that are Christian that live in Palestine. Okay, so it's not even just Muslims over there. You want innocent kids and women and people and men and whatever and animals in the area to die. Like, how about we stop promoting genocide to any group of people? Is that crazy? But you will be blacklisted if you say that and deemed an anti-Semite. This is the crazy world we're living in today, guys. But that's all we have time for today. Hope you enjoyed today's video, and I'll see you next time.